So we're just about to enter the month of December, and the holiday season is right upon us. But before we go off break for a little bit, we all shall come together to celebrate the finalists of this year's IHR award. And Adway, we are very proud to sponsor the category of the Best On-Site RPO in-house recruitment team. And now, unfortunately, we couldn't manage to sit down in person in our studio, but I have them here on Teams. I have Omni and Ofcom. So Omni nominated for their work on site at Ofcom. Join me, Louise Shaw Mairead Wood and Simon Martin. So great to have you all here. Amazing.
Thank you.
Hey. Awesome. Even though we don't have the flower background, we'll still manage. Now, welcome everyone. So great to have you all here. I think just a brief start. Could you please tell us just very briefly about yourself and your role, basically? Louise, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Louise Shaw. I'm the newly appointed Managing Director at Omni. So absolutely delighted to be here. I was reflecting actually because I worked on the bid team with Simon when we actually were bidding to work with Ofcom. So to get this to this point is so pleasing with what we've done. So absolutely a delight, and good luck to everybody on the evening as well. So that's me. Thank you.
Brilliant and polite. Amazing. Mairead, how about you?
Yeah, I'm Mairead Wood. I'm account director. I work for Omni, but with Ofcom. I'm responsible for kind of like the strategic alignment between the delivery of the recruitment into Ofcom, into Ofcom with their sort of overarching goals and strategy. So yeah, really delighted to be nominated, and thanks for having us.
Cool. Simon.
Thanks, Richard. So Simon, I'm the head of talent at Ofcom. So I look after everything in our sort of talent sphere, from recruitment to learning and development to performance management. And I'd slightly disagree with Mairead's statement there that she works for Omni, because I feel like she works for me personally.
Oh, thank you.
Which is an indication of the service that we receive from Omni. And to Louise's point, I think to be nominated for award at this stage in the relationship is just a fantastic reflection of how well the partnership has come together. So really chuffed to be here.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. I think, shall we dive into the poll straight away, going to the questions? So the first one being, and I think Mairead and Simon, if you'd like to answer, what would you say are the traits of a truly great on-site recruitment team?
I think the first thing for me is communication. So really good communication, and that leads to a really clear understanding of Ofcom's value and mission, brand, and that enables us to go to market and really bring that EVP to life to candidates, and to give those messages out to attract them in to apply. I think that's one thing. And then on the other side of that, of course, we've got the hiring manager relationships as well. And I think Louise will talk shortly about our relationship with CIPD and other external bodies, but that really gives us as an organisation great market intel, really great information that we can bring into Ofcom and use in our conversations with hiring managers to set expectations. Hiring managers aren't always close to market trends, what's important to candidates, and I think that the fact we can bring that in and give realistic expectations of what to expect really helps us in our success. And I think the other thing, of course, is as well we have an embedded team that work with Ofcom regularly, but we also have a team of specialists we can draw on. So whether that be consultancy or whether that be a niche skill set or exec hire, that we have other skills that we can draw upon. Brilliant. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Mairead. Well, look, I'll be honest, I totally agree with the points that Mairead made. I suppose what I would add to that is, from a stakeholder perspective, I suppose that the oasis or optimal service that I wanted to achieve through our partnership with Omni was for it to be seamless, in the sense of hiring managers and candidates feeling as if they were dealing with the Ofcom recruitment team as opposed to a third-party provider. And I truly believe we've achieved that. When you look at the interactions between our management community, our candidates, Omni and Ofcom, it's seamless in the sense of Omni come in and step in and do a fantastic job as the Ofcom resourcing team. I think also, the relationship between us as an internal talent team and Omni, is so much more than a transactional relationship. In the sense of the value added in a variety of different spaces, as opposed to great, we've hired someone, great, we've hired some, and just rolling through the numbers. So that for me is what great looks like, and I believe we've achieved that in a very short space of time.
Amazing. Happy to hear. Second question. What would you say are the biggest challenges on-site teams face right now? Louise and Simon, perhaps?
Yeah, I can take that first. I guess I believe that the challenges for on-site teams, I don't think they're different than they would be for any TA team, be it off-site, an internal TA team, or an embedded team like us. One of the things Mairead talked about a second ago is our work with the CIPD. So we partner with them with their annual talent survey, and the results have just been released a couple of weeks ago. So they're very top of mind. Not surprisingly, I think you're not going to be surprised at all with them. It's tough, yeah. Everybody knows there's an increasing demand for talent. Having come out of COVID, the impact of Brexit, we're seeing the reports from ONS daily. Well, monthly rather, with regards to people exiting the workforce, and the demand for talent is just continuing to grow. And certainly with the types of roles that we are recruiting for Ofcom, highly specialist skilled positions, it's really, really tough. So what we're seeing are the biggest challenges. We always at Omni start to think at from a talent management perspective, we always look at retention first. So we've all been talking about the great reshuffle, the great resignation. Whether you believe that or not is a different thing when you look at the stats, but it's been absolutely key. And really important to us is that whoever we help to hire into a business, we want to make sure that they stay. And then that has lots of different elements that come from it. But retention is really, really tough. We're very mindful as well that pay and benefits, it can't be the answer to everything. So I know that with inflation announced earlier this week as well at an all-time high, we can't continue to just pay higher salaries. So pay isn't enough. So we work really hard to help think about what else can you actually do, what else can we sell, which we'll talk about further in a little bit as well. The other challenges are where do you go when the talent doesn't exist? Where do you go in the market? So we really want to help TA teams to think about how do we develop skills. And that's why it's so good working with a team like Simon's, because Simon is accountable for the entire talent agenda at Ofcom rather than just recruitment. And it makes such a difference when you actually have that one accountability for everything, because it helps the work that we do as well. And then I think other things, ED&I is absolutely critical to any TA agenda. It's not a tick box anymore. It's absolutely crucial. So it's really important that any TA team, they really nail it in terms of not just the messages, but they really, really make sure that recruitment is inclusive right through to the business. And that is a hard task to do, to make sure processes, training, everything is in place to make sure that any barriers to hiring are removed. So there's loads going on in the TA agenda at the moment. I think it's really tough, but I actually find it personally really exciting time. Certainly, I think in my 20+ year career in TA, it's never been as hard, but equally never been as exciting at the same time. Simon, would you add anything to that?
I mean, it's an extensive list, Louise. I would say that I agree entirely. Again, I think, to my first point, the only other thing I would call out is when we talk about the challenge for an on-site team as opposed to potentially an internal team, dealing with the them and us scenario is all important, because to all of the points that Louise made, we're in a really challenging talent marketplace, particularly for Ofcom. We're recruiting for roles that don't exist anywhere else in our work for online safety. And so if you don't have that joined up collaborative approach with your hiring community, as opposed to recruitment haven't delivered, it's incredibly difficult to actually bring on board the capability that we need. And again, I think in our partnership with Omni, with the relationship we've built, that collaboration is very much there. And so, I'm not constantly receiving emails saying that the outsourced recruitment provider hasn't done their job and we're behind and everything else, because Omni work with the managers. It's a collaborative style of working, and at the end of the day, it produces the results. So that's what I would see as an ongoing challenge for on-site teams, but one that we faced into very well.
Brilliant. Sounds really good. No wonder you are a finalist, I suppose. Cool. Moving forward, so third question: considering the challenges in attracting quality candidates, where do you see the future for talent attraction? I don't know, Mairead, Louise, perhaps, if you would like to elaborate.
Sure. So, I mean, to the point Louise just made there around, I guess, the future of talent and where we are currently in the market, I think internal mobility is a big one, and retention. So that obviously becomes before recruitment, and which I know probably sounds unusual for a recruitment team to be talking about that, but it is an important consideration. And, Simon and I, we've been working together in terms of our teams around the internal process to make sure that that's fit for purpose. And it's, it's giving every candidate, internal and external, a really excellent experience. So I think there has to be a focus on that. And then I think there's the tech side of things as well. So it's looking at how can tech support what we want to achieve in terms of our recruitment. So the applicant tracking system Workday used for Ofcom, we're looking at how can we enable those functionalities around talent pooling, and the other side of retention, which is important, which is the beyond the offer point up to start date. So it's while people are waiting to start within the organisation. So it's really making sure that the tech supports in the human element of the outreach of those bits of the process. So there's sorts of things that we can be doing to really, really help with those challenges. Yeah. And Lou, I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, I'd probably add on just generally in terms of an attraction perspective, there's never one answer for one business. We get asked this all the time, and there isn't just like one straight methodology that you would follow. And really understanding an employer's proposition, it is very, very different depending on what that employer is offering. So I spoke a moment about pay, and with the research findings even from the CIPD that we have, it was very much from a public sector perspective. People's perceptions are different about what they want. And for the first time, pay became higher in private sector, but it didn't in public, which was really good to see. And it was actually the perception of the organisation and what that stands for was number one, pay was second, followed by benefits, job security, career development, as you would expect. But to me, that means so much about when we are attracting, what messages do we really want to get out there, and what do we want to help with Ofcom using they have a fantastic branding toolkit that we all have access to. But it's quite a skill for our recruiters then to use that to make sure that we are attracting but selling the right things about the proposition of Ofcom. So I guess for wider businesses, it's to really think about who you are and what do you stand for. That's so important. The rest, the pay, the bends, it's almost a given these days. So it makes it harder for a TA team to really to be able to, I guess, articulate that and sell it properly to prospective candidates.
Brilliant. Moving on to the fourth question. And now this might be secret, I don't know, but hopefully you would like to share with us. What would you say your secret sauce, like the recipe for your secret sauce for creating like these awesome results, but then from a perspective both for the candidates but also for the clients?
We actually joked about whether or not we wanted to answer this question.
Telling you.
But yeah, we'll give you some of our our inside secrets. I think that the big thing that Simon's already alluded to in the course of this interview has just been the fact that we're not just recruiters. We don't just come in and fill roles. There's much more collaboration and a true partnership, which really gives us the success that we see. I think, for example, we're not, like I say, not just recruiting, we're also involved in conversations with the ED&I leads to see what's the strategy, how are we aligning recruitment to that. We're involved in conversations with Workday around what's the process for candidates? Is that fit for purpose? What are the comms? What's the report? What does the reporting look like? Is that, what changes do we need to make that really useful? Or it might be working with people ops around, okay, what happens after the offer? Do we need to speed up the process around the contract generation, which is a conversation we've recently had, successfully with them. So it's the fact that we're involved in so much, and that's where our impact is, and that's where I think we see a lot of the results. And in addition to that, we're very, very hot on feedback. So hiring manager feedback and candidate feedback at various stages of the process. And that isn't just a cursory, give us your feedback. We scrutinise every single comment that's made by hiring managers and by candidates, good and bad. And we go away and we look at where's that comment come from? What improvements could we make in the process here? How's this happened? So we ask a lot of questions around that and report it in monthly. So like I say, it's not just a tick box for us. It's a really, really key part to making continuous improvement. They're the main things for me. Simon, anything else you would add to that?
I mean, I think that's fairly conclusive. I suppose, yeah, I mean, I think the acting on feedback piece for me is massive. You know, it's such an integral and important service for us. With so many people involved, if you think of the crazy level of application, all of the various stakeholders across the business, and that for me, where you see tangible change based on feedback in fairly quick succession, that for me is what a good level of service should look like. So that's something that's shaped the account over the period that we've been in partnership, and from a continuous improvement perspective, we'll continue to.
Brilliant. Time flies. We're up to the last question. I guess this is the true spotlight question, right? So I don't know, Mairead, Louise, what would you say? What makes Omni stand out as the best on-site recruitment team?
Well, I've probably got quite a lot to say on this, but I think maybe it would be great to hear Simon's view on I guess what he thinks of this question.
Oh, pressure. So look, I would say, in my opinion, the level of personalization of the service, as opposed to us just being another account, stands out for me. And within that, as we've talked about, this is not just transactional recruitment. This is end-to-end resourcing effectiveness, assessment, and action. And the results we've achieved through taking that sort of methodology in the partnership speak for themselves. And so that would be my fairly concise answer as to why I think Omni are the best.
Wow, what a compliment.
Wow,
there we go.
That was very, very smart, Mairead, and Louise passing it over, I suppose.
It really helps when we have people like Simon to work.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Amazing. Well, I think that wraps everything up. Thank you so much. Been a joy to have you here. Now, obviously, in the other interviews that were taking place in the studio, I was preparing like a little Swedish treat or Swedish sweet, if you will. Now, unfortunately, I can't offer you the salty candy, the licorice from Sweden, but I'll make sure to bring it to the awards in a few weeks' time, and you get to, maybe we can capture that on video as well. Reactions are, they go back and forth if it's good or not, but we'll see.
So hopefully we'll leave with an award and some licorice. That's the goal.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah. And speaking of the awards, best of luck, and thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.